Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Karu and it is time for me to show off what I managed to complete in December for my coloring pages. I didn't get through too many books this month. It's always busy in December. In total I did get through 8 pages, which is about average for me. So I just had it more concentrated in different books. So I'm going to put this aside and get right into it. The first book I colored in is Halloween Cuties. I did not do any of the Halloween pages, but Halloween Cuties comes with a couple of samplers of the other Cuties books. So I did this page, which is the sample for Christmas Cuties. And I used the coloring palette for Amanda's coloring challenge. And there was like pinks and reds and silver. That was interesting to get to work. Luckily, this is a pretty simple image, so my mind really just wanted to do all of the like star and all that in gold, and I wasn't sure what color to do, and then I realized there's silver here. That works just fine. And then everything else kind of clicked into place for me. Really like how it came out. I used some alcohol markers, just alcohol markers for the coloring. I used some white gel pen, I think this was Jelly Roll, for the highlights, and then I used a Flysea silver pen acrylic marker for the edges of everything, and I gave a bit of edging to the elf in the foreground just to make her pop out from the background. And I can bring that up a bit and you can see a bit of the shine. It's not the shiniest. Yeah, so that was technically from Halloween Cuties by Joshua Dunbar. Next up, we have my first page in Cute Chibi Color Creature Coloring by Phoebe. And I did the Christmas page with the reindeer here. Also in alcohol marker, just alcohol marker, I used Ohuhu for the foreground, and I used, I think they're Touch, they're a cheaper brand, for the background. I did have one problem here. I went too close to the edge and kind of dyed the thread, the binding thread, and that came through a bit on a couple of the other pages below it, but I'm sure that'll be fine. More importantly, I went about like a bit over the edge here. You can kind of see where it goes too far over, and you can see it on this page. So I'm going to have to see what I do for this page to kind of mask that, and in the future try not to go that close to the border. I just really liked the idea of having the whole page colored. This one was pretty simple in terms of colors. I just went for traditional ones, and I think it worked out well. I did use some acrylic marker for the eyes, because this artist does, when they're open, God, so many of them are closed. There you go. So they're pure black on the original image, and I wanted to add a bit more sparkle, so I made my own coloring on top of the black with the acrylic markers, and that worked out very well. Let's see there. It almost looks like it was part of the image. I really just like how alcohol markers look, and you can tell the difference between good quality alcohol markers and the cheaper ones in the back, because the back ones are not quite as smooth. But it works overall, and this was my attempt to keep from using too much alcohol marker of the more expensive ones for coloring these big pages. Next up is one that took me, I think, 2 weeks. In Symphony of Cute Animals by Kanoko Egusa, I chose this huge double spread, and I decided to do it with watercolor pencils because I figured that would be easier to get a smoother cover without having to put too much effort in. I think I put a lot of effort into this anyways, but I do like the final result. I like the colors. It was pretty interesting for me also in respect to the fact that I could choose just a couple of colors and work throughout the whole page and not have all of the pencil sets out, just have the book and a couple of pencils out. So I would have, say, the like 2 or 3 colors that I used for all the greens out, and I would take a whole day to just do that, and then I would do the same thing with all of the areas that were of a single color. And then at the end, you can see I used a very glittery, shiny gold watercolor from my, I think it's the Haute Art Studio watercolors. And I did that for the swirls at the top and the stars. And then I added some darker ones for the brown parts of the roof and and the little chocolate drops in the house. Now, after I did that, I noticed that it was still looking very kind of slightly patchy, but also not very shaded since I hadn't really shaded underneath. So I grabbed a water-based marker and added a bit of shading to the stars and everything else. I did have to be careful though, because it did slightly in parts kind of come through. It's not, yeah, you can't see it on the film. So it's not too bad. I should be able to hide that. And I actually started hiding what had happened on this page with a blue acrylic marker, and I just did the background with the acrylic to cover any bleed through. So I'm gonna see if I can do this one in January and finish it up. So that is there. But yeah, really proud of this page. I think this was my favorite, the one I put the most energy into last month, and really happy with the results. So that is Symphony of Cute Animals by Kanoko Egusa. Then I am trying to work on Worlds of Wonder, essentially trying to finish one a month. And I had my partner choose, I usually have my partner choose a page, and the one that they chose for December was this big tree city, I guess. And I began with the wood, and then I decided I didn't want to do like a typical green or autumn palette. I wanted to do something more fantasy, since this is a city on a tree. And I decided, I had this really firm idea of how I wanted this to go from yellow to purple. And so I did that, and after doing that I was like, I would have really loved to do the tree in silver, just to contrast the dark purples of the interior. But since it was a bit late for that, I decided to do silver for all of the roofs instead. And just to keep things simple, I decided to stick to my palette of 5 colors and use that for all of the houses. So what I did was I did pink to purple for most of the houses, and anything that looked more like a castle, I added the yellow to pink to light purple, so that there was a bit of variety in that. And then all of the silver is done with a silver acrylic marker, which I think is the Flysea. So you can see there, it has quite a bit of shine. And I did the same thing for the plants down here, because I briefly considered, and the little rocks here, I briefly considered doing the background in black, but then I decided I did not want to take that much time, and I figured it looked all right with the background as it was. But maybe I'll go back to it at some point and change that. Wow, the top is getting really... Are you going to focus? That's kind of focused. There we go. That's better. There you can see all the colors. Okay, so that's in Worlds of Wonder by Johanna Basford. And then for Christmas, I got a new set of gel pens. And my main purpose for the gel pens was Secret Garden, because there's a lot of pages in here that have like really tiny details that are hard to get into with other medium. So since I had to try them out, I chose this page with a lot of little details. And this was done entirely with the gel pens. I had to be very careful because they do take quite a while to dry. But I'm glad I managed to get a good mix, despite the fact that I used all of the sets. So I have some pastels, I have some neons, I have some metallics, and the glitters. So, and you can see the glitter, especially on the peacock. I wanted the peacock to be the most glittery thing, so I chose glitter colors for the peacock. And you can see, yeah, there you can see the colors without the shine. And these are really glittery. They're very nice looking in person. You can see some of the metallics on these branches here. Yep, there you can see where it loses the color in the light. Now I'm going to come back to this at the end, and I'm going to try something to show off the neon colors, but that's going to require me playing with the lighting, so we'll leave that for last. But yes, so that one was finished at the end of the month in Secret Garden by Johanna Basford. Then the next one is a PDF. I got Matchstick Mouse, a winter coloring book by Morgan O'Brien, and I got this one and printed them out on nice cardstock paper so that I have fun using my alcohol markers on. And yes, this was a fun little, I think it only took me about an hour to finish, and I just like being able to do small ones now and then, especially with the alcohol markers. Let me bring that up a bit. I did, yeah, all of it is in alcohol markers, and then I did use my silver acrylic pen again for the border and the snowflakes, just to white out their borders. You can see the border there, and now they're gone. So I like that effect. I really like how bright the colors are, and especially with the better paper, it is nice to work on that. And this wasn't the only Matchstick Mouse page I did, because like in November, my partner and I did 2 pages for our nieces, and so I will put them here. One was done by them and one was done by me. We both used the alcohol markers this time so that it would be a bit easier for us. And I let them choose which book they were going to work in, and of course they left me with the one with the little doodle, which I think came out pretty cute. Yeah, so that was the same thing as the other one, alcohol markers, and we used some white gel pen to add some accents. And that was the last of the pages I've done. The next thing I have to show is a little collaboration artwork that we did, my partner and I, and we made this image for Christmas cards, and we only finished it in December, which is why I'm showing it off here. And this is a very shiny piece of paper, so it's getting all the light. There, that's a bit better. I'll probably show off the digital version here as well, because this is a printout of the digital version. What we did was I sketched it, and then we had it scanned, and my partner inked it and put the base colors down, and then I shaded it. So it was a complete collaboration between both of us, and it shows our furry selves and our 2 cats celebrating Christmas. So we sent cards out to our family a bit late. Some of them are still not receiving them until they get it in the mail. But hey, at least we got it done. Last year we only spoke about doing it and then took forever and didn't do it. So this time at least we started a bit earlier, and hopefully next year we start even earlier and maybe get things sent before Christmas. The line art for this is also available on my channel for free. So if you want to pick it up and color it yourself, feel free to do so. I would love to see the results, and you do not have to follow the colors that we have here. You can do whatever colors you like. I would love to see alternate colors, honestly. So yeah, there is that. So that is another completed coloring page, I guess, from me. And this one had a bit of help from my partner. Okay, so that is all the pages. Now let's see if I can set up that lighting. Okay, so we've got some blue light here, and this shows off a bit more the areas that are neon. You can see the green and the branch are done in the neon colors, and they kind of pop a lot under blue light. Now let me see if I can do a manual switch here. That's what it looks like in normal light. And there we go. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I kind of want to do that effect again on some other pages where the neon color looks brighter under a blue light. I wonder if I turn off more lights. Okay, so I turned off my overhead light, so I only have the blue light, and especially the dots looks super bright. Camera doesn't capture it quite as bright as it does look like in real life, but I hope you can capture that. Yeah, it almost looks like it's luminescent and just coming right off the page. That is so cool. Let me switch it back to normal light, and it looks just like normal greens. And the brown actually looks brown instead of that like almost neon orange. Well, hope you enjoyed that, and that is the end of my December coloring. Not too much to share, but I think a lot of it was shared in my complete coloring book collection. So if you haven't seen that, pop over there to see that and check out all the books I've collected in 1 year. Yesterday was actually my 1 year anniversary of coloring. So I have now been, or at least that was the first day that I finished a page, because that is the date on the first page I ever colored. So I am 1 year old in the coloring book community. So see you next time.